All right, so welcome in the first official lesson for this course, and it's going to be an easy one because we're just going to go and download Blender and talk a little bit about the version that we're using. Now, currently I am using version 4.2 in a beta state. However, by the time of release for this course, Blender 4.2 will have officially launched and is available to the general public. So let's make sure you're working with the latest build of Blender, which is in a stable release version. Quite important because unreleased versions sometimes do have bugs, so using the stable release version is usually a good practice. So let's start downloading Blender. Quite simply, you can go to www.blender.org and download the latest version. Now, as you can see currently for me, while recording this course, this is still Blender 4.1.1, but at the time of release, it should say 4.2, or maybe already even a different version like 4.2.1, for example. If you do want a different build, you can always go to daily builds and make sure you get one of the most recent versions of this build. Now, I'm currently working with the 4.2 beta build, but at the time of release, there's probably already a few other versions available. Now, after downloading this file, you can simply install Blender and it should work from that point on. You can also work with Blender through Steam. So by installing it in Steam, like I've done here, you can simply use it through Steam, and a fun little gimmick is that Steam will track your hours used. Now, an important note on versions is that while this course is aimed at 4.2 mostly, a lot of the principles that I will teach do apply to older versions and probably also to newer versions of Blender. Now, I can't tell the future, so it might be the case that things change, but as it currently stands, we're trying to make these courses as accessible as possible for older versions and for newer versions. So if an older version of Blender is not an option for the specific lesson in this course, I will mention that within the video lesson, so you know that at this point you might not be able to follow along if your computer can't handle some of the newer versions of Blender, for example. All right, so that's all I wanted to say about versions and downloading Blender. So let's get started with our course and learn about light in Blender.